So what we have here is a quick demonstration of a light that will be controlled by a switch. Right now there's no switch present. So what we have is our source of power coming in from our breaker, going into our single gang box, which will in the future hold our switch, coming out the bottom, and then going over to our light box with our test light hooked up. So as you see, you have black connected to black all the way through, and then you have white connected to white all the way back. So what that is allowing it to do is have a circuit of power. So in essence, your positive power is flowing through the black into the light, and then returning on the white, back to the white, back to the breaker. So that whole connection allows that light to turn on. So let's demonstrate. Power, light turns on. Kill the power, light turns off. Pretty straightforward, right? So what we want to do now is show how do you introduce the switch to this equation. So first, let's demonstrate breaking of the circuit. So the breaking of the circuit is taking these two wires and separating them. Now when we turn the power on, what will happen? The light doesn't turn on anymore. So that's because we broke the circuit. And that's how electricity works. If you don't have a circuit all the way there and back, the light's not going to turn on. So now, how do we connect this circuit and close the circuit using a switch? So what we have here on the screws on the side is one gold one and one non-gold one. So something easy to remember is that your power, your source, always goes to the gold. And so if you trace the line coming from the box, that's going to be this wire here. So what we want to do is align that wire with the bottom of the bottom screw, and then we're going to put our load on the top screw. So it's as simple as putting it into the wire holder. What I like to do before I even do that is I like to screw these screws tight. Now some people like to use these screws and wrap the wire around the screw. That's up to you. But for ease of use of this demonstration, we're going to go ahead and just slide on the back, give it a pull, make sure it's tight. Do the same thing to the other one. Flip it over, and then what you want to do is add your ground. So once you've added your ground, you're ready to test this out. Give me 1 second. Now I never suggest people leaving wires out like this, but for this demonstration I'm going to show you what we did. So I turned my power on. The light's still not on because the circuit is not closed. So that's all a switch does, right? Is it closes your circuit. So now I've turned my switch on. So inside the switch, you have your power coming in down here, and you have your load up here. And then when you flip that switch, it's actually flipping a bar to make those two touch. And in essence, turning the light on, closing your circuit. That's how a switch works. What you want to do is grab your knife. Give yourself about 3 inches to work with. Use your knife to lightly score the insulation material. The other option that a lot of people do is cut the insulation
3 screws in
along the length
when
of the
you have
wire.
one switch for all of your lights.
Like that.
This one
The
has
reason for that
4
is
screws in it.
if you do cut the
when you have
wire,
2 switches.
it's going to be the part of the wire that
all of
you're
your
removing
lights.
the insulation on anyways. And you can pull that off. Go ahead, discard that. Same thing with your paper. And exposes the paper. Okay, so now black, white, ground. So you want to get a pair of your strippers. Might be very difficult to see, but on these strippers there's different numbers. Those numbers tell you what gauge wire to go into that hole. So this is 14.2, which means it's 14 gauge wire. So go ahead and locate your 14, slide it in there, give it a twist. What that does is it severs the insulation, and then you can quickly pull the insulation off, just like that. Same thing on the other side. If you want to get real fast and don't care about throwing that on the floor, you can go ahead and do that. So that's how you go ahead and strip your wires. I like to grab this, wrap it around one time. Makes like a nice little hook there. You can put that around your ground. On the other side, you can do the same thing, or what you can do is use these openings in the back and just pop your wire in. Make sure it's secure. Same thing with the other one. Make sure it's secure. What I like to do is I like to take my electrical tape and run it around, covering up these screws. This is something I like to do because when I'm putting this in to the gang box or taking it out, you can see that I would be closing the circuit with my hand, and what that would do is cause it to be shocked. Same thing with an outlet. If I was pushing that in or taking it out of outlet and I touch both screws with one hand, I would shock myself. So that's just a little tip. So to release this wire, you grab your small screwdriver. There's a little slot right above the wire or below the wire. Stick the screwdriver in at the same time pulling out the wire. Same thing with the other one. Stick the screwdriver in and it immediately releases the wire. Justin here from Weekend Warriors. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, go ahead and like our channel, subscribe, and hit me up with a comment on what you would like to see next in a video. Thanks everyone.